To be here. Obviously, a lot of great things ahead. I think the next 48 hours, real longer than that, even till Saturday. I think we're going to have a number of guys get drafted. I think a lot of guys sign free agency. The one thing that's been awesome for me the last several months is talk to a lot of different owners, GMs, head coaches. Last night, talked to an owner and a GM and a head coach that I've known for a long time that have a top 5 pick. And the first 10 minutes of our phone call was really just about the growth of Illinois football and how exciting that is for them to see players play the way they did. So a lot of great things that go beyond just tonight.
Obviously, Bret, you're going to be in Canada tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have you done something like this before where you've done to the house? I know you've not been to the draft, but like to the houses. And what do you hope personally you get out of that experience?
I think it just shows how much the game has changed, right? Like I was a head coach of Wisconsin, head coach of Arkansas. I had first rounders, second rounders, third rounders, everywhere in between. And I'm out of it for 3 years. And when I came back into it my first year, a year ago, really the first year those weren't players that played for us, but a year ago we had Kirby, right, and then didn't know where everything was going to go, and then I would give Pat Embleton, Pat Pearson, our personnel recruiting department said, Coach, you got to go to the draft, and not only that, we should probably maximize the 48 hours after it for the next player, right? It's obviously a great opportunity to reward and be around Spoon and his family. The Brown brothers, they've given so much to our university, and to be able to share that on the home front with them. Aaron Henry's going to go to be with Quan, Palcho, Darkangelo, everybody from A to Z, Kendall Smith. I think there's a lot of guys that have a chance to get their name called. But what we're trying to do is reward them, but also promote for what we can do in the future.
Coach, when you see Devin up there tonight when he has the head on, how's that going to make you feel?
It's a fulfilling moment. I think to be there'll be the emotion of it. My wife warned me, right? Like I tend to get a little emotional at times, right? So I know how much it means to Devin and his family. But for me as a head coach too, to get to know these young men at such a young age and get the chance to be around them over the last 2 years and see the growth and development will be very fulfilling.
How do weeks like this rank among other rewarding moments you get as a head coach? Kind of where would you put that?
It's just a different feeling, right? Because now you get to send them on their way to somebody else, right? You're not going to be in charge of them every day, but you think the influences you have will be able to hold them through. But it's a very unique feeling and I've kind of shared it with all of them. I've had a lot of communication with them. Literally, when they got done playing for us, they prepared for the draft. Before they went to the combine, I sent them all a group message, and I kind of treat them all the same and let them all hear from the experiences I've had. But each story is a little bit different, right? I think to be here tonight with Spoon, I talked to Quan last night because I wasn't going to be able to make his draft. It's just each story is very uniquely different and unique to them, which is awesome, but it also brings about a lot of different feelings.
You had so many guys drafted. Do you like using former players to, in recruiting to say, hey, call this kid?
Without a doubt.
About my experience?
There's NCAA rules that allow that not to happen all that much, but I think the greatest proof of what you can do is what you've done, right? And our players definitely are aware. But I always say this, right? The one thing all of us are given in life at birth is our name, right? And you have no vote in it, right? Most of us come out and we're given a first, middle, and last name that we carry our entire life that we never had a vote in, right? And that value that you bring to that name is based on what you do every day, and it never costs you a penny, right? Like there's no creativity for anybody's name, right? But what you do with it from that point forward means a lot. And today is another great example of, even though there's going to be a financial reward for what they get called, right? When they get called and the value that's going to be put on that. But what they've done is they've created a tremendous amount of value to their name, and you can never replace that.
Just logistically, how much do you pump out tonight with guys you're actively recruiting?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have? I'm assuming you've got a game plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of NCAA rules that come into play, but anybody that we can legally reach out to, talk to, converse, video, FaceTime, whatever it is, we'll take advantage of what we can.
Next year in Detroit, I assume you're planning on that trip too.
Well, I think next year, we have probably the possibility of maybe having several guys that might be in the same position. So every year is a little bit different, but we'll see where we're at when we get there.
Spoon's mom will obviously be there. I guess, what was your first meeting with her, and how much has she pushed him to this moment?
Well, the greatest thing is, you're formulated on who you're going to be a lot of times before the age of 10 or 12, right? And she's obviously instilled in him a lot of great things, this competitive nature, his demeanor, his attitude. I wasn't able to be there in his home when we recruited him, right? But have been able to be there in the back half. I think him and Aaron Henry and his mom, share a lot of stories to get him where he is today. But I think, for a guy that just lost my mom in the last year, like I would guess that the hardest part for Spoon today is going to get that hug from mom, right? Like one of the most rewarding moments you're going to have is return the favor to the person that created you, right? And I'm sure that moment is going to be special for them.
What does it do for the program to have Devin's name, in the top 10 in mock drafts all throughout the offseason? Just, get the Illinois name, the program out there, and tonight, walking across the stage.
Well, I think the greatest thing is obviously it's going to mean a lot right now, but hopefully it's going to be more in the future. The thing I've been able to tell people, to be in the NFL for 3 years, you realize the value of what top round picks can do when they play well, but you realize what top round picks can do poorly if they don't play well, or maybe they don't function well in the community they're in. And I think Spoon will be a rock star in both.
You guys as a program are getting a lot of attention. Just as people turn on the film, they see what you've done. How much momentum in that regard, just perception, not just among recruits, just nationally, and how much your name is out there?
It does three things, right? First, publicly, anybody that says it, that gives you great street credit, right? But for me as a head coach, it gives me validation of what I see and hear every day. I always say there's a lot of little indicators along the way every day, right, that show me what we are building and what we're doing. I just sat down and visited with over 100 players in one-on-one player individual meetings, and I literally got home after the first night. My wife and I are sitting there at the end of the day, and I'm like, I wish you could have heard some of the things that were said today, because they just show you where we're going and what we're doing. And the third thing, probably the most important thing, is tradition and history never graduates, right? These guys move on and get a chance to play in the NFL, but who they are and what they represent stays within us, and that's what I'm excited about more than anything.
Program cleanup question, Bret. Were you able to get through all the player meetings before you got here today, or is it still ongoing?
No, okay. I got through every player meeting. We did that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everybody likes to complain and say bad things about the portal and the NIL world. It's a great thing. I think the greatest thing that we've been able to do in this business is allows guys that aren't in a situation to be successful. One of the first portal guys I ever got was Russell Wilson, right? And he was in a situation, a moment that although he had played, it wasn't great for him, and we were able to give an environment where it was successful. J.J. Watt was one of the other first very successful guys. Chris Maragos, all kinds of guys. So I don't ever want to see people leave our program, right? But if it does allow them to get to a better place, which every one of the players that has entered the portal from our program is somebody that I knew that was coming, and I expected it to happen. So we can give them a handshake and a hug, and we can help them on their way out. On the flip side of it, it's now a very creative time for us to build the best roster we can off the departure of others. We knew that we were going to have somewhere in this ballpark, and now we got to be able to roll forward. I think people take narratives where they want it to go, which you do sometimes, right? But I think the biggest thing that we do is we take advantage of the moment we're in, and it builds us a great team.